Ryanniag Ti Ilocos Sur, programa ngagserbi kamang kenrang tayo iti gobyerno probinsyal. Lalo na, iti beneg iti sanggo niyang panlalawigan ti probinsya ng Ilocos Sur. Mangted tinanay ng informasyon kadagiti programa, proyektos, tulong, ken mga sister kadagiti ang problema nga OFW ang kalugaran tayo. Ryanniag Ti Ilocos Sur, tinagaget, Produktibo Presiding Officer, the busy Governor of the Province of Ilocos Sur, Ryan Luis Singson, our main anchor, Ken Lito Javier, our co-anchor, Ryanniag Ti Ilocos Sur, at tuyen nagsubli ngagserbi kada kayo, agsipod tada kayo ti inspirasyon mi, Ryanniag Ti Ilocos Sur, da kayo ti inspirasyon.
Hi, hello, good morning, 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 everyone. Good morning, Ilocos Surian, and welcome to Ryanniag Ti Ilocos Sur. Da kayo, iti inspirasyon mi. Kumusta ti biyaga po? Kumusta ti sitwasyon? Kumusta kayo amin? Ngawan iti labas na. Ay attenda kayo. Mayo 5, Happy Fiesta! Bantay! Aming nga bantayen news. Idalwan na po Mayor Sammy Parilla, Vice Mayor Sammy Boy Parilla, dagiti sanggunyang bayan members, dagiti empleyado dito yung munisipyo ti Ili Bantay, da kayo amin na po, da kayo nga agnaed dito'y poblasyon. Poblasyon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Awampay nagawis. Kada kayo, kanyami. Hoy, dagiti karuban to'y. Happy Fiesta. Wala ti asok dita. Ya? Lakit, kumusta kayo amin na po? Happy Fiesta. Bantayan nyos. Ken happy birthday met ken ni Sir Michael Chan. Iti presidente ti Bigan Elite, mga kaibigan, dati po nga PDRRMC, iti probinsya yung Ilocos Sur. Happy birthday, Pres Michael Chan. Alright, mga kaibigan, ado po na kita'y topiko tayo. Nako talaga, napuyatang nga talaga iti tagabantay ta a big and a lot of surprises. Apa lagi video da di kalman, na impabuyan ni Edison, na monitor? When? Okay, sige. Kalding Festival. Kakaldingan Festival. Ori ulo ti kalding lang kuma. Sinanglaw ti kalding. Kilawen ti kalding. Apo, mabisim na ko no kastilaan. Ada ko mapaggatangan ti kalding dito nga dayay hanang di sa kabukel. Kaya ko tagsin ti kalding inaldaw nga sa kabukel ang kalding ti partyem metten at dapay nga roadmate. Di ka pay kakasi tabulo samon. Every day is your birthday ko nada na. Ti kahit ko kay kasla ko makin ni Joy Idi nga mabalin ti may sa kilo Joy. Oh, kasjay ko ma. Ada paggatangan ti kalding nga dayay per kilo ditoy. Bigan Idi, di tiyandan di bigan ni Apo Belarmino Idi, di agriculture director tayo. Nagparting di Idi, tiyandan di bigan, di ko nawamatan. Katata, segun kini Apo Vice Mayor Sammy Boy, agpartin to kano papartida, adan to kano paglakwan ti kalding di tanay tiyandan di bantayon, mga kaibigan, regular, daily, Apo naggana sa da paggatangan na ti kaldingan nga lutuan, mga kaibigan. Ngam kaya ako na jay mapanggatangan na jay duagaso 200 nga kaldereta, 200 nga kastoy kasjay, mga kaibigan. Okay, kasya po. Happy birthday Mayor Tercero, Apo Mayor Vice Tercero. Happy birthday sir. Belated idikalman ti birthday na. Napanama na ki birthday jay balayda. Di kalman. So, happy birthday! Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday, Apo Mayor Tercero, Vice, Sir. Birthday na di kalmang kahit, mga kaibigan. So, lot of chika-chika, mga kaibigan. When, bantay, nalpas ti pesta ti biganain. Aglepas tata. Nalpas mo ti pesta ti sinaitin. Kaldawan ti pesta ti iling nga bantay. Pesta ni Apo Caridad ikakasi na kami Apo. Pakawanan ng basbasol mi. Okay, alakit kumusta kaya amin Apo? Kumusta dita balasyo tao? Adda pa lang ni presidente dita. Nga madagod news. Dagiti ano marepatriate di Sudan. Apo kailian. Apo nagriga biagdan na Apo. Mapandagi Egypt nya. Nakisistrikto da kanu magi Egypt kunada. So, ngam ko naman ni Secretary Tots Ople, tibiyang iti Department of Migrant Workers, alangunin da kano Apo. Ipanda kano di jay parte iti other countries mga kaibigan, apay, di na pala ko maidirekta. Iba kada, nagado ka no ti pagsapulan ka no di Amerika, kung nada ka, apo, no siya rikas jayan, jak pala kay tagaway, di panda di Amerikan, kung ako, ano siya kaon. Nya, ore parapido tal abasura di Amerika, apay, trabaho mo na di, dolyar, isipin mo, dollar yon. Nya, kaya ko ti trabaho, iba kanyayo no basurero ko nada ko manya, kaya ko na pidot ti basura, kaysa na agaywan ti lakay, when agaywan ti bakit. Gusto? Oh, tanong nagkamali ka, di panangaywa mo di lakay, natay. Pabasulin na ka. Bagya basura, uri palapalapal mo. O problema, nabangbang sipay. Di bakit, kaya lakay, ngaywanan. Ang gusto? Sino tinakapadas ka nakakabalay ti lakay kan bakay? Oh, no imisbo, no timaki di bakit, wano di lakay, tahan na kaya ng ikatin di sa pinna. Ya, tara ikam ti pampers na. Saus, Mario Josep, baka king ka. No awan aanusam. Istorya. Amom, si kamera niyan, no ambisyon ti mapan di abroad. Sa bagay ke trabaho na ito, social worker ka eh. Ya, mayan nato plaunay. Dayjay gayam ko di, nakapimpintas nga balasang, nakamitikuloso. Ya, kapimpintas mo. Oh, nagbasa dita divine, nalinepas si kursona nga education, napan nagtransfer dito ISCC, nangala ti kursona nga nagana yan, midwifery. Tamo na 2 years lang di midwifery, bachelor's gaya man. Oh, so intuloy na. Naggraduar ti bachelor's degree ti midwifery. Oh. Napan nag-abroad. Napan di jay Dubai. Yan. Tiyan mo na kay household worker. So na, kumpuri, o laraw, parang gano'n. Ay, naging natumpungan na at dati lakay. Nga inaywanan, nagtawin ti nasuro 80. Bedridden. Sos, Mario Josep, iso kano ti kakaidana. Iso ti kang kanayon ng suksukatan, digusem, pakanan, apo. Wala na nga ron kay agluan, agsangitak nilal daw ini sir, kung na nga ron. No, kasi nga patpatang kami. Dahil nga pimpintas mo, kung ang balat, importante, panunutan dito, dolyar. Oh, see? Idinatay gilakay, iyon, medyo simaya, basit ti trabaho na. Nagbirok ti sabali nga pagtrabahoan na, ingana nga nagbalin, iso na nga recruiter. Iti mapan di Dubai. Tata, nagawid, nagbakasyon. Imay nag-review, nag-board. See? Nayala na. Oh. Idi nakapag-board, nayalanan, napamanen, nag-abroad. Hospital tayanan. Kasi tigasa na. So, ito ko na istorya. May isang nga ng istorya kanya nga narigat ti agaywan tilakay. Yan. Nga mamom dagi kasgay mayra niya, dagi tay aywanam nga lalakay. Ta siyempre dagi ta baba nang dagi ta ya. Oh, dagi anak da, sumangba da may dakitain, no siya malapan na kaywan kasjay, caregiver ka karon de. Oh. Ton numatay, taba nang paramanan da ka. Aglalo di lakay no tay kumawin no di bakit kay makapatang pelaan, ya. Ikan na kan, ilasinan na kan. Ay, dayget iswerte mo. Oh, ada pay may isang istorya. Caregiver napandi jay, I think Israel yata or London. Nabayag nang inayaywanan di bakit? Ngem banang, ya. Awan ti pangipatawidan na di kinabanang na mapangkuma ti charity. Oh, ngem gapot nakita na nga di nga Pilipina, kay nagset ti panangayaywan na for 20 years, more than 20 years, idi matay, nagsidaaw di jay. Tadududuada nga de. Nagsidaaw di jay Pilipina nga caregiver. Naipatawid aming kanya na kinaba ng jibaka. Sus Mario Josep, dagiya apo tinapintas tigasa ng digibalasyo tao gagayam gana po kaya yan. Pero sa totoo lang, nagrigat tagaywan tibaka kalakay. Nya? Ay sus, jala ubing mon. Oh, jala ubing mo ngay aywan na mon. Padpadigosam nga dapag na mon, nabannog pay. Nya? Di mo pa'y malagip tig sagay saya, ito sumang pa nila kayo mo. Nakapipansinin na tanyang gurang kamutay, ang mga slidin. Nga kaya mga ayusin di bagbagay. So nga, nagigay mga kaibigan. Nagita pakwatay lang po, ehemplo tayo lang. So nga tayo na nga raw, narigat apo iti agaywan. Gagayem ka na po kailian. Kadwan na. Sila kini kasinsigod, di New York. Agaywan ti bakit kilakay. Professor, iso na dito, idi. Nagdaktil pa sweldo na, nasuro sa ngagasawt. Kinakaya na pa New York. Ado, ti amamok nga dadtabala si tao, dagiti friend ko. Baba lang da, ngam ti trabaho di jay, ayan da, so sapo na dagsain, caregiver, mga kaibigan. Kasi yakabsat ko, dama di Hong Kong, caregiver. So na di jay. Ngam no da kayo di jay apo, abroad, no da kita abroad niya, hanlang nga di kina caregiver mo nga in-apply mo, no, household worker ka, no? No. No, sika, kaduan na nga mapantay abroad, graduate tayo matang kahit ti college, di ba? Professional tayo, wala trabaho tayo nga Pilipinas, bueno, ada trabaho tayo nga basit sweldo. Numapang kini di apo, for example ko caregiver ka, BSIT, nalaing ka ti computer, no adda ti aywan mo to nga ubing, kasi all around ka isurom di ubing, ag computer, Inton no makita di amom nga sika nalaing ka nga mangisuro ti computer, tinto mangyarin, tutorial to ti trabaho mo, sikanton ti ag-tutor ka di ubingen. Dito amo mon, ibaganan ton, mangbiro ka ti sabaling nga, agbaling nga household worker ta, kunanan ton mga kaibigan. So, mangayab kan to beten ti kabsa mo, or kabagyamon, nga kadwan di jayen, kasjay. So, ano dakit abroda po, ipakita yo, ti sigla yo, ipakita yo nga kaya yo, ti sabaling nga trabaho, halang nga dayjay agdalos, halang nga dayjay aginaw, agloto, agloto launay, ipakita yo nga naling kayo nga agloto. Isos, dakkel sweldo yun dita. Si kati chef dan, bagak king ka. No naling ka computer, ipakita mo, suruam dagayay ubing mo, dagayay among mo, kayam ti office work. Kasjay mga kaibigan, iti sitwasyon. So nga, dati bagbaga ni Secretary Tots Ople, nga dagitay ka no gapo di Sudan, can you imagine? Makapangka ti parte ti Sudan, mapangka di jay trabaho, nakagulgulo, mapangkat di ta Iraq, mapangka di jay niya nga country na kita daddo mapay nga papanamon. Nagrigat ti biyag, nagrigat trabaho, mga kaibigan. Narigat trabaho, narigat apo ti biyag, nagulupay. Kasi narigitay kakabagyak hindi nga napanji Israel. Ni King, mamumit nga ta ni King niya, ni King Ragini. Naggapo Israel na dyan, nabayag Israel. Nagyagrero, 8 years na diyan. Pimanaw idi, media man, napaniso na di jay, di ko nagsublay, napang PTV. Istoryahin na, bumtak lang tayo ba sa nga buildingan at siyempre mabomba mo, iti missile, mga kaibigan. Nung kaslawang kano kanya da di jay, idi, ganon. Ti delikado, kasla kumandatay ni Janice, at da di jay, hello Janice, agbubuya kanya, di ta Lebanon, kanya, nagla-live ka ta Lebanon. Kumusta ka dito Lebanon? Gasim di jay istorya na mayra ka 5 palapag na building. May sana. Pinanawan na giyamo na. Inlock na diyayen. Insarradan. Kompleto. Ti kanan na diyayen. Kasla grocery. The grocery na yun na again. Agbuy-buy alatan tig kanabtog ga bomba jerwar. Kasjay. No ti rabi mapanji ground floor maturog di basement. Tao rin mabomba. Awang problema. Kasjay. Giamong na napanday di Dubai, pinanawan na 6 months, may sana 8 na palapag, 8 story, may sana, naglawa, nagado. Kasi lang, mangan maturog, agbuya, mangan maturog, ganun lang yun. Ito brana. Sweldo. So, kanda ito ko nang aroden, da kayo apo ti ansang hero, natured kayo nga, mapan. Da gila pumanaw ka lang di Balayo, mapang ka lang di Manila, o sa baling nga probinsya, kastaw na pa'y danag mo, han? Lagi pinana. Kanyan to laki nung papanamong ka, naggulaw. Ay sos, Mario Josep, guba di jay. Amoy ti kakasi, kasla na ganyan napadasan, nag-iikit ko di, napadasan na, di jay quiet, di invasion of quiet, di pinagpagnada, nagatidog na disyertaw, da kano pa nag-ijay, dua-dua ti strolling, trolley. Dua-dua trolley na, ta siyempre, nagado ti yawid da nga nag-ijay kargada, alahas, nagiyay, ay susapo Mario Josep, idiadada di disyerto, awang pa'y pagiddan, aw pagturugan dan, awang pa'y danuman, ininot ng ibilbilang dan, nagiyay trolley dan, nagiyay kaya dan, ibulsan, isulangan, piman, kasi ti sinapit da, DJ ya so nga narigat ti biag kadagita nga area mapangkata Iraq, mapangkata Israel, Lebanon, mapangkata Sudan tatta sos Mariusep narigat ti biag nakabuteng mga kaibigan. So, nga bagbaga ni Secretary Tot Sople nga dagiti taga Sudan, dagiti kano empleyado di Sudan na Pilipino, mabalinda nga ikan ti pagtrabahuanda di Amerika. Kung lang ako din, handa nga pag-awidin ti Pilipinas sin ano, dagi i-repatriate na nag-ipanda di Amerika nga dago sa kanda ti papel na po, nya nga swerte dan. Ginagawid kanto pala ti Pilipinas, ag-process kanto pala papeles mo dito, mapangkala di embassy, agbayad kanto pala 10,000 ti application mo ti visam sos nalpas mga kaibigan di mo pa mo no makapasa ka or ma-deny ka ganon ayun apo tiriga na so nga gagayem ka na po agilian kas na kunak kada kayo apo gasang-gasa lati wapan di balasi yung taaw naswerte kayo ti papanan nyo nga abroad ka dayay nakapimpintas kas la kumay Italia di tayan ni Kapid Rick Perilla kumusta ka Kapid happy fiesta ayo gayam dito bantay aguni ka Kapid maramanang kapid. Sige. Mapangka Italia, mapangka Roma, dito yung Paribong, ski, dito ni Sir Jesse Games. Sir Jesse Games, kumusta Sir Jesse? How are you? Awan lang ti Romania nga arak. Jayman. Happy fiesta. Okay. Kan fiesta bulag, tapang ko raw tinjibalayo ori awan nagigan diyay. Sir Jesse, kumusta ka? Ken da kayo aminin na po, no mapang kadagita nga lugar, mga kaibigan, dita Hong Kong. Nagsya dita Hong Kong, di ba? Kumusta kita Hong Kong? Ado na kita girlfriend ko ta Hong Kong, ngam di tayo magkikita. Saka ito na girlfriend didin na tayo, kasjay. Aggagayem tayo pala nga kadagito yung tiyempo. Di ba? So, dagi na pintas nga lugar, natalda nga lugar, nga papanan nyo pag-abroadan, ay sos, bagak kanyayo, happy kayo. Kapag pasyar kayo, window shopping, libre kayo ti panagpasyar, ganon. Macau, dagita, US, ay sos, Mariusep, bagak kinyam, dagita. So nga, irereto nga rin ito'y karat, makabiro mo ti, no maki-textmate ka malangan, wano na tayo maki-Facebook mate kan, dagi taga-Amerika, orino bagdiyan, orino negro, ano sampay laang, Inton no naala na kadijayan, file ka nga dagos ti divorce mo. Samon to lang dati boyfriend mo nga taga Isabela. Kasjay. Remedyo nga rod. Apid, di ka nga mamati. Nanganakak ko mati kasar no hanak pimanaw, idi ka, di na pa nagi Sambales. Nagkasar. Tomboy ken babae. For the first time nga mga nakak ko dadi taga Santa. Tinanak ko. Jay embassy di London tinagkasaranda. Nagpintas na yung babae. Napimpintas man yung tomboy. After 6 months, alayan na ni pan na di London. Kung naman ka, open divorce mo di jay. Kung naman. Kas jay mga kaibigan, adapay may sagayem ko. Napan Amerika. Tomboy niya nangalakan niya na. Inyaramida na pamuspos. Nagit ano tikas ta ano matikas yay kasi lang kumbang diyan iasawa da kalaeng for the meantime. Iasawa da kalaeng for the meantime. Tapos sa kanto maki-divorce ti jay. Loko ti malibagbagamon. Nagi practical lang nga po. Diskarte lang ti biag kita mga kaibigan. Okay. All right mga kaibigan, madamdaman to po ti programa tayo Ryanniag Ti Ilocos Sur. Inaktomet na po patangatang dito'y ASEAN meeting ni Apo Presidente, BBM, papagayam, kalpasan lang po na gito'y palagip tayo.
As the heritage province of the North reopens to tourists, it launches the all-new Tour Ilocos Sur app. A quick guide to Ilocos Sur at your fingertips. Find the best tourist spots. Hotels. bars and restaurants. And authentic Ilocos Sur products and food. Be updated on upcoming events, plus get notified on the important announcements and updates. Available for global download on Android and iOS. The Tour Ilocos Sur app. Historical becomes digital.
Kaya't mo kanayon na nakakondisyon ti motor mo, saan tayo abaybayan ngagdadael? Siguden na patarimaan, tadda tinalaing ken anos a mekaniko, ken pagkagatangan ti high-end ken genuine a piyesa ti motorsiklo. King Rabe Motorcycle Parts Enterprises. Anyaman na piyesa ken brand ti motorsiklo a kasapulan at daamin di da King Rabe Motorcycle Parts Enterprises. Saan kan ngagpaspasarap, mapankan di sigurado, adupay di pagpilyan tinadumaduma a brand a pilid, motor oil ken kumpleto a pang setup. Pasyaren ti Pestuda sa Jikabarwan, Santa Catalina, Ilocos Sur. At dapay branch na ditaigid ti National Highway, Sunto, Bantay, Ilocos Sur, ken Sadyay, Dagupan City. Ride safety. Siguradwen anapintas ti kondisyon dagiti motorsiklo. Adda ti mapagtalkaan a King Rabe Motorcycle Parts Enterprises. Ken no kasapulan piloga na pagpasya ken adday ti darayan nyo nga okasyon. Kastapay no dasabaten nyo akaming ti pamilyayo a balikbayan at danda iti ban amarentaan. Kontakin nyo ti numero 0917-188-7507. Upwa ken imatmatonan da Bonnie ken Lynn Rabe. King Rabe Motorcycle Parts Enterprises.
Only foods ba ang hanap mo? Kaya't mo tek mukbang ng basit ti budget. Mapangkan sa J Books Eat Food Hub. Masarakan ti igit ti National Highway Barangay Kabarwan, Bantay, Ilocos Sur. Giseserve dati only wings, rice, lechon kawale, sisig kanda dumapay a pagpilya. In kayon ti Books Eat Food Hub. Matmatunan dito ni Miss Eileen Tolentino ken ni Miss Luenalo Manlies. And the food, ngem suwak sa bulsa. Anya pa'y turorayam, mapankan ti Books Eat Food Hub. Books Eat Food Hub, sigurado mabsog ta buksit mo. Nagbebero kay matinaimas nga pulutan wano dagiti maprito amakmakan. Saragam lang ti Choylin Fried Station. Masarakan din na dumaduma pwestuda ti probinsya ng Ilocos Sur at dati ta syudad ti Vigan, Iliti Santo Domingo, Kabugao, Sinait, Narvacan, ken Cantón City. At dapat pwestuda dita Abra ken pati Batak ken Lawag City, Ilocos Norte. At doon dagiti mabili mo pagpilian. At dati fried chicken, crispy pata, fried itik, lechon kawali, tokwat baboy ken pork sisig. Choylin Fried Station. Fried to perfection. No kaya't mumati only rice ken only soup all you can, 3 mantas grill house lang sapat na. Ado dagiti pagbilya mga combo meals nga sigurado aswak ti budget mo. Masarakan ti 3 mantas grill house sa Bayubay Sur, San Vicente, Ilocos Sur. What are you waiting for? Come and visit 3 mantas grill house today. Kung mahilig ka mat dagiti matuno makmakan, na tuno grill house lang ang iyong kailangan. Dahil offering chicken inasal, pork barbecue, chicken barbecue, only rice pork inasal, ken only chicken wings. Masarakan tinatuno grill house sa San Jose, Narvacan, Ilocos Sur. Anya pa'y turorayang, pasyara mo ang dagitoy nga panganan. Na imas tagdag, nunananam timakan.
Problema yung kadi iti panangalat ti student driving permit, renewal iti lisensya ngagmaneho ken panang-upgrade iti restriction code dagiti lisensyayo. Solbaren dagiti nga problema yo iti RX Driving School. Ti RX Driving School ken accredited iti LTO ng eskwelaan amang ipaay kadagiti sumaganad. TDC wenno theoretical driving course. Kasapulan daytoy kadagiti mangala ti student permit. PDC wenno practical driving course paramat kadagiti mangala iti non-prop wenno professional driver's license. Upgrading iti restriction code paramat kadagiti mangnayon iti mabalinda a manehuen ken ti special driving course paramat kadagiti kayat na tagsursurong agmaneho ti motorsiklo, tricycle, four wheels, manual or automatic ken dadumapay. Naanos ken nalaing dagiti driving instructors da nga accredited iti LTO. Dito'y 2nd District, masarakan ti RX Driving School iti National Highway, Barangay Tablak, Candon City, abay iti Sacred Heart Medical Laboratory. Dito'y mat 1st District, masarakan ti RX Driving School, abay mismo iti LTO. Dita poblasyon is San Ildefonso, Ilocos Sur. Ken dita probinsya ti Ilocos Norte, masarakan ti RX Driving School iti along the National Highway, Barangay Kalagip, Batak City, sango ti Lucondia Cultural Center ken Mariano Marcos Memorial Hospital. Asideg iti mismong LTO. No lisensya ti panagmaneho, ken nasayat a pagsusuruan ngagmaneho, RX Driving School iti papanan. Para tadadong informasyon, tumawag wenno ag-text kayo iti 0917-578-3132 ken 0917-811-0581. Dito 1st District San Ildefonso, 0917-306-3735. Itamot 2nd District Candon City, 0917-120-1745. Ken Ditabatak City, 0917-329-0591. RX Driving School.
No serbisyo analaka nga catering ti masapulyo, adda iti Caril's Garden Catering Services ang masarakan di Mabini Street, Barangay Rizal, Kabugaw, Ilocos Sur. Adu pa iti agkakaimas nga makan ti inkay pagpilyan. Ken saan lang kadayta na ornos ti serbisyo da, napintas iti set up da. Ken saan yon a problema no kasapulan nyo iti venue. Oray anyaman nga okasyon ket mabaling nga rambakan kas iti kasar, birthday, anniversary, reunions, meeting, ken dumapay. Caril's Garden and Catering Services ti kapintasan ken kalakaan. Nadaras pa'y akasarita ti aking bagi ani Sir Carlito ken Maricar Asena. Wenno kontaken iti numero 0917-799-1273. Wenno 0917-799-5110. Caril's Garden and Catering Services. Umay kayon!
Nueva Segovia Consortium of Cooperatives. Ti kooperatiba ano bayagin nagseserbi kadang ti Ilocano iti amyanan a Luzon. Ti kooperatiba ang manpapaay ti serbisyo, benepisyo, ken mangisakit kariti empleyado ken miyembro na. Ti Nueva Segovia Consortium of Cooperatives wano NSCC ket adon tinatulungan na. Babayin med iti namayat alangin-langin ken kooperasyon dagiti miyembro ken mangimatmaton. Adon tinagduruasan ti kooperatiba. Adupay dagiti nainayon ang kasdek akas ti NSCC Farm, Chicharon Processing Facility, Macro Laboratory, kastameten ti NSCC Plaza, ken NSCC Business Center. Isungan niya pelang ter orayem makikaptenkan iti kadakilan a kooperatiba iti probinsya. Di Nueva Segovia Consortium of Cooperatives suman na NSCC. Imatmatunan na daytoy ni Dr. Divina Kenny.
Okay, alright. Agsubli tayo po. Programa Ryanniag Ti Ilocos Sur. Papagayam. Happy Birthday, Mayor Popoy Bueno. Dita Ili Ti Santa. It's your birthday today, my good friend, the real idol. Yeah? Mayor Pops, how old are you? Pumpiang 5. Yeah? May 5. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Apo Mayor Popoy. God bless po. Sana agbayag tapay iti serbisyo ken agbayag tapay dito rabaw ti daga. Happy birthday ha. Dependento no kasano ti oras nga panagkikita. Palubos na po. Alright, mga kaibigan. Okay. Sige po. Gagayam kina po kailang tultuloy tayo po. Programa Ryanniag Ti Ilocos Sur. Iti inatenderan ni po Presidente. Heto na po mga kaibigan.
Republic of the Philippines, Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Magandang hapon sa inyo lahat. And thank you for this opportunity for me to be able to make my final statement on this trip from the Philippine delegation to the United States that we have just finished. So, seeing as dahil tutuloy nga ako sa UK, sabi ko maaari ito na yung kung baga hindi ako makakapag-arrival statement dun sa Maynila, kaya pagkakataon ko na lang ito na bigay ng statement tungkol nga dito sa nakakatapos lamang na bisita natin sa United States at sa pamahalaan kay President Biden sa pamahalaan ng Estados Unidos. So this brings to an end my official working visit to Washington, D.C. Over the past 4 days, I met with Joe Biden, the President, Vice President Kamala Harris, my counterpart in the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Secretary Tom Vilsack, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, and several other cabinet officials who joined President Biden in our expanded bilateral meetings. Our discussions were very productive. We are of the same mind that our long-standing alliance and partnership must be adapted to address the challenges of our time in order to bring about lasting peace and sustainable prosperity to our countries and to our peoples. The joint statement we issued outlines the key initiatives that we will pursue across all areas of our bilateral engagement to achieve these objectives. I look forward to having our respective teams follow through on the many areas of cooperation that we have identified. This will help advance our key priorities with respect to agriculture and food security, and to promote energy security as we transition to clean energy and boost trade and build resilience of our supply chains, enhancing connectivity and digitalization, also of climate change, mitigation and adaptation. In addition to existing bilateral policy dialogue platforms and working groups, we agreed to institutionalize a ministerial-level study group to advance cooperation on climate-smart agriculture, which I myself will lead. I also met with quite a few U.S. companies, both those looking to further expand their already valuable presence and operations in the Philippines, and those looking to invest in our country for the first time. They are all committed to be part of this development journey that we have embarked upon. We returned to the Philippines with over 1.3 billion US dollars in investment pledges that have the potential to create around 6,700 new jobs for Filipinos within the country. When realized, these investments will support our country's economic recovery efforts and further strengthen the foundations of our economic environment. We expect even more investment that will lead to materialize once these companies firm up their plans. Nevertheless, the interest is a welcome sign of their trust and confidence in the Philippines as an investment destination. Together, we will be working on addressing some of our key economic challenges, particularly food, energy, and health security, digital connectivity, and the cross-cutting issues of climate change and pandemic preparedness. The discussions that we had with the U.S. business community also affirmed the optimism which international investors view the Philippines today. It was with great pride that I received their praises for the talent, ingenuity, work ethic of Filipinos. This has become the main driving force for bringing their investments to our country. We also welcome all the initiatives to expand collaboration with the Philippine government and our universities to support the continued growth of local talent. These, complemented by our game-changing economic reforms, will serve as a firm foundation for an indomitable partnership. My visit would not have been complete without meeting with Filipino community from the U.S. East Coast, as well as some who came all the way from the Caribbean. I thank them for their contributions to the communities in the Philippines and in the United States. They continue to bring honor to our country in the practice of their chosen professions. They continue to bring a shine to the reputation of Philippines and Filipinos with their philanthropic work, especially during calamities and disasters that have touched so many lives. I urge our fellow kababayans here in the East Coast to continue to be our partners in promoting the country for tourism and investments. I then capped my visit with a speaking engagement at the Center of Strategic and International Studies, where I shared my reflections on why I think the Philippines and the United States has been and will continue to be naturally drawn to each other. Beyond our treaty alliance, we are bound by shared values and our commitment to mutual prosperity. I underscored my main message during this visit. The Philippines and the United States will have to forge closer economic ties and ensure that our bilateral partnership works for our people. That will bring a truly important alliance, a truly valuable partnership, and a continuing friendship into the 21st century. Thank you. I think there are a few questions.
Yes, Mr. President. We will open the floor for Kanyang press corps. First question from Ms. Daphne Galvez of Inquirer.net.
Good evening, Mr. President.
Hi, good evening. Good evening na ba?
After the U.S. and the Philippines finalized its bilateral defense guidelines, China said that the South China Sea should not be used as a hunting ground for forces outside of the region, and it opposed what it called as meddling in the issue to harm China's sovereignty and maritime rights. What can you say about this, sir?
Well, I do not think, as a Filipino and representing the Philippines, I don't feel alluded to. How can anyone say that we are not a party in interest in all of these issues? So I think that kind of statement was directed more towards the United States than it was for the Philippines. I think the Philippines' actions are in continuing to strengthen our capabilities, to continue to find and forge partnerships with the United States, and both in the governmental sector and also with the private corporations that we have spoken to, as an important part of what we have been trying to develop in the past almost 1 year. And that is I think, only right and proper because we in the Philippines need to do this if we are going to go forward and find new opportunities for our people. At hindi naman masasabi na walang karapatan ng Pilipinas na gawin lahat yun. Kaya yung statement na yan, sa palagay ko hindi nakadirect sa Pilipinas.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, we have a question from Tina Maralit of Manila Times.
Hey, sir. Good afternoon po. Sir, prior to this trip, you said that you want the Mutual Defense Treaty to evolve. In your sit-down po with President Joe Biden, were there specific provisions of the MDT that you discussed with him? And if so po, what was his reaction?
Again, you have to, if
The specific provisions, prior to this trip, you said that you want the MDT to evolve po. Were you able to mention
we're not yet
specific?
there. What we did in this trip and what we have managed to formulate are the guidelines pa lang doon sa mga magiging provision at saka magiging detalye. But the premise continues to be the same. It's a strengthening of relationship, and the word "evolve" is one that I have been using, and that other people have seemed to have adopted, because that is exactly what it is that we need to do. We have to evolve, and why? To explain it, is that we need to evolve because the situation that we face is evolving, and when I speak about the evolving situation, I'm not only talking about security and defense. I'm talking about trade. I'm talking about economy. I'm talking about climate change. I'm talking about all the other aspects of our society, of our economy, and even our government that we have to adjust as a response to what changes we are facing. Iba na ang mundo ngayon. Hindi na kagaya kung ano yung mundo natin noong November ng 2019, hindi na natin makikita yon. At talaga namang ayaw natin bumalik doon. Tayo ay tumutungo sa kinabukasan natin. At yun, kailangan natin kilalanin kung ano ang kailangan gawin dito sa bagong sitwasyon. Kaya evolve ang aking ginagamit na salita.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have a question from Rayo Kiyomiya of Shimbun.
Thank you, President. This is Ryo Kiyomiya from the Asahi Shimbun, Japanese newspaper. I have two questions. So first, regarding the tension in the Taiwan Strait, at your meeting with President Biden and your counterparts, what kind of discussion did you have to deter the contingency in Taiwan, and how to react to the Taiwan Strait crisis? And secondly, at the meeting with President Biden, joint statement mentions a trilateral cooperation, including Japan and Australia. So what kind of cooperation do you expect, and what kind of role do you expect Japan to play for the stability and peace in the region?
I expect a developing cooperation. Patuloy ang pagpatibay natin ng ating pagsasama at pagpapartner dito sa iba't ibang bansa, na hindi lamang yung mga nakapaligid sa Pilipinas, hindi lamang ang ating karatig bansa, kundi pati na ang mga bansa na dati hindi naman natin nakakausap dahil walang pangangailangan na makaroon tayo ng partnership. Kagaya ng pagsagot ko doon sa nakaraang tanong, yun talaga ay nagbago lahat. Kaya kailangan natin ayusin lahat ang ating mga arrangements. We have to fix our arrangements, our alliances, so that they conform to the needs of the day. And that's again, it comes back again to that process of evolution. Because the situation is new, then the solutions have to also be new. And that is why we are now formulating those partnerships between all the different countries, not just Australia, not just the United States, also South Korea, also Japan, all of the ASEAN member states. And I think we can continue to do that. And I know that these countries that I have mentioned are already of the same mind. Pareho ng pag-iisip tungkol sa mga pangangailangan na natin gawin at kung saan ang pinaka makakatulong sa Pilipinas ng mga partnership. Sila rin ay ganyan din ang kanilang pag-iisip. Sila rin ay naghahanap na nga ng mga itong group na magsama-sama upang harapin ang bagong mundo na sabay-sabay. It seems that the message of unity that we were espousing during the campaign is beginning to extend to unity not only in the local situation in the Philippines but also in an international scale. Kaya yun ang naging talumpati ko nung ako'y nagsalita sa UN na kailangan na natin magkaisa, kailangan na tayong magkaintindihan upang makapagtulungan tayo sa isa't isa. So, I think it is not only the Philippines that thinks that way. It's not the only Australia that thinks that way. It's not only the US that thinks that way. I think every country in the world is thinking in those terms. At least most of the countries that have not that have continued to keep open relationships with their partner governments around the world are also of the same mind, and that's why I'm confident that that process will continue and will go from strength to strength.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Marlon Ramos from PDI.
Magandang gabi po, Mr. President.
Yes.
Sir, you just made very interesting remarks during the CSIS forum this afternoon. You said, and I quote, "The syndicates have grown stronger, wealthier, and more influential, worryingly so." This despite what you mentioned, abuses committed by certain elements in the government. Sir, how do you assess the drug war of the previous administration, and how do you intend to go after, to make those people behind those abuses accountable?
I'm in no position to assess the administration of anybody else. That is not proper for me to. That's not a proper role for me to take. But when you ask what we are doing, alam naman ninyo lahat. We formed a commission and I asked for the resignation of all the police officers from Colonel up, so that we can assess and see and study what their records are. Kung sila ba ay kasama sa mga sindikato, kung sila ba ay may kinalaman dito sa patuloy na paglago ng drug problem sa Pilipinas. Kaya yun ang palagay kong unang-una. Dahil hindi mangyayari ito, tignan na lang ninyo ang sitwasyon, ang drug problem sa lahat ng iba't ibang bansa sa buong mundo. Ang mga nagpapatakbo niyan ay hindi yung mga maliliit na tao na nakikita mo sa lansangan na sila mismo nagbebenta o user sila. Hindi naman sila ang nagpapatakbo niyan. Ang nagpapatakbo niyan ay mga matataas na opisyal, kuminsan sa pulis, kuminsan sa gobyerno. So yun ang hinahabol natin. Kaya isinimula natin sa pulis dahil law enforcement sila. Sila ang dapat na nakatutok dito sa problemang ito. Kung hindi gumaganda ang sitwasyon, ibig sabihin hindi nila nagagawa ang trabaho nila. At kaya naman natin ginawa yung ginawa natin upang tanungin, bakit hindi ninyo nagawa ang trabaho ninyo? Baka may kakulangan sa sistema ng pulis, ayusin natin. Baka naman talaga ito ay kasabwat doon sa ating mga tinatawag na drug lord. At kung yung iba, sila mismo ang nagiging drug lord. Kaya yun ang mga hinahabol natin. Kaya yan ang palagay ko, malaking bagay yan. Ngayon, sinasabi na kung magtanggal kahit na ma-identify natin sila, tatanggalin natin, may papalit dyan. Yun ang iiwasan natin. Yun ang binabantayan natin ngayon. So sa kasalukuyan, yung dalawa na sa pulis na nagbigay ng courtesy resignation ay tinanggap na ang resignation. may 30 labis na 30 na under investigation pa rin. Titignan natin kung sila ba ay dapat kasuhan, kung sila ba ay kailangan suspindihin, kung ano man. Dahil kung meron man silang kinalaman sa mga drug syndicate, iba-ibang involvement. Meron yung pinababayaan lang, look the other way. Ika nga, they just look the other way. Ano yung magiging parusa para dyan? As opposed to, yun talagang pinapalakad, yung mga opisyal, pinapalakad yung mga tropa nila para tulungan ang drug syndicate. Iba naman siguro ang sitwasyon na yun. Kaya yun ang pinag-aaralan natin para naman, karamihan naman, marami naman sa pulis, wala namang involvement dyan ay mababait at talagang nagsisipag upang matuklasan at mabuo ang mga kaso na hinahawakan nila. Kaya kailangan natin maging maingat din na hindi natin hahabulin yung mga walang kinalaman. Kaya kailangan natin pag-aralan kung sino ba talaga ang dapat imbestigahan, kung sino ba talaga ang dapat parusahan.
Salamat po.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last question from Mark Fetalco of PTV4.
Good evening, sir. May we know po kung anong oras po kayo tutungo sa United Kingdom for King Charles' coronation? And secondly, where do you see the Philippine-UK relations under King Charles' reign? And ano po yung nakikita nating benefits po nito? At lastly, tatanggapin po ba natin yung imbitasyon po ni Prime Minister Rishi Sunak na makipagdialogo po sa inyo?
Well, alis ako mamaya. In a few hours, in 2 hours. Alis na ako in a while para makatungo, para darating ako, magla-landing ako sa Gatwick. Dahil, ang dahilan kung bakit sa Gatwick ako maglaland, usually, hindi sa Gatwick ang pinupuntahan. Ngunit ngayon ay pupuntahan ko yung Gatwick dahil titignan ko yung operation ng kanilang airport. Kung bagay ba ito, yung mga lessons learned nila, yung mga ginagawa nila, kung best practices yan na pwede nating dalhin sa Pilipinas. At isa sa pinakamalaking dahilan kung bakit ako pupunta ay kilala namin si Prince Charles pa ang pagkakilala ko sa kanya. At kaming lahat nung namatay nga si Queen Elizabeth, ay hindi ako nakapunta at ang pinadala ko ang kapatid ko na si Irene, kilala rin ni Prince Charles. Kaya sabi ko naman, ay palagay ko dahil magkakilala kami, dapat naman napakalaking bagay na siya'y kukoronahan bilang hari ng United Kingdom, ay dapat makapag-attend na ako. At the UK is a constitutional monarchy. So, in terms of foreign policy, may input ang royal family, pero hindi galing doon. It will be the foreign ministry that will determine what our relationship with the UK is. And I think that is constant right now. And patuloy lang naman, we trade and we continue to help ang ating mga Filipino nationals na nandun sa UK. At yun lang siguro ang mga concern natin. Ngunit titignan natin, kaya makikipagkita ako sa kanilang bagong Prime Minister Sunak, upang makapag-usap kami kung merong bang pagbabago sa kanyang pag-iisip sa pagpartner ng UK at saka ng Pilipinas. Sa palagay ko ay ganun din ang sasabihin niya na dapat papatibayin natin at naghihingalo, hirap na hirap ang ekonomiya ng UK. So baka isang bagay yun na pag-uusapan namin kung paano mag-trade o kung paano dagdagan, isa sa lahat, I'm sure, babanggitin niya kung pwedeng makakuha ng healthcare workers galing Pilipinas, dadalhin sa UK. Dahil alam mong nangyari, nung pandemic, sumikat talaga ng husto ang healthcare workers na Pilipino at Pilipina. At kaya't lahat ng bansa ay umaasa at nagtatanong kung pwede ba ay paramihin natin ng mga healthcare workers na pupunta. So isang bagay yun. But I think in general, we will maintain the same relationship. It has been a relationship very advantageous to all parties involved. So I think that we will stay the course and continue to deal with each other in a very similar way that we have done before.
Sir, hindi mo po kung kailan po yung scheduled meeting natin with Prime Minister Sina?
On the sidelines lang. Dahil kung titignan nyo yung schedule, pagdating ko doon, may reception sa palasyo, sa Buckingham Palace. The next day is the coronation. Pagkatapos ng coronation, alis na ako, babalik na ako ng Maynila. Kahit wala halos oras. So, may mga proposal, makikipag-usap ako, siyempre sa Prime Minister Sunak. Pero habang siguro nag-aantay dun sa actual na seremonya ng pag-coronation sa King Charles. So ganun na lang. It has to be very casual dahil everybody has followed a very heavy schedule of the coronation. Meron din mga request ng ibang leaders na mga gusto makipag-usap sa akin, pero ganun din, puro ganun. Ang tawag nila, ginagawa na lang natin, pagka may pagkakataon, ay halika, usap tayo. Siguro, and that's what's going to happen siguro this time again. Because I cannot see any window of time in the schedule kung saan pwedeng mag-sit down, mag-usap, to exchange notes, etc. So very casual lang ito, very informal. Pero wag natin mamaliitin yung mga ganyang klaseng meeting dahil kung minsan yung hindi mo inaakalain mangyayari, may nangyayari na napaka-importante pala. Kaya siyempre open tayo lagi na makipag-usap sa lahat. At baka naman sakali meron tayong makita pagkakataon na makatulong sa Pilipinas.
Thank you, Mr. President, and congratulations.
Maraming salamat sa inyo lahat. Thank you very much and see you in Manila, Philippines.
Last picture, the photo.
Everybody, please have a seat. Thank you. So glad to see you all here. It's just wonderful to have this room full. It should be, because this is a rare opportunity for all of us. Thank you all for coming. My name is John Hamry. I'm the president. It's just been really a standout visit, and I think we're all very glad for that. You know, there's such a unique relationship between our two countries. It's very personal. It's bottom up. About 3 years ago, I spent a fair amount of time in a series of hospitals, and at every step of the way, there was a Filipino that was helping me. The emergency room, the ICU, the hematologists, the nurses, the doctors. And it wasn't just that they were healthcare professionals. It's that they brought a buoyancy of spirit that's so typical of the Philippines. You know, it made me want to get well because I wanted to live up to the generosity that they were expressing for me. It was marvelous and a great, great thing. You know, we've had choppy relations between our two countries through the years. My friend Henry Howard is here. Henry was instrumental in returning the Balalinga Bell. You say to most Americans, they don't know what you're talking about, right? No American knows what that means. Every Filipino knows what that is. We took a bell from a Catholic church as a war trophy, you know? And it took 100 years, I think, to get it back. You know, Henry, thank you for doing that. But it's emblematic of the unevenness we've had between our two countries. We're right now entering a remarkably positive period of time because of President Marcos. He is bringing new dynamism to this relationship. And we see each other now in ways where we need each other at a modern time. And it's a wonderful thing. So it's a privilege for all of us. This is his last big event before he leaves tonight. So he's giving us the privilege of talking with him and then also getting his
I get a special Filipino footstool. So thank you for such thoughtfulness. Thank you very much for the kind introduction from Mr. John Hamrip, the President and CEO. Also with us is our Foreign Secretary, Secretary Ricky Manalo, and our ambassador who cannot wait to see our plane leave. She has been working on this trip for a year. And I think that we owe him a pat on the back for the very good work, the groundwork that he has put in for us to have, for us to be able to say that at the very least, this visit has been a most constructive and meaningful one. I was just speaking inside before we came out, and we were talking about the trip, and I said, generally there is a tendency sometimes when we have these official visits or state visits where you make these declarations and pronouncements which are very general, and what we refer to as motherhood statements. We have this on this trip that has not been the case at all. We have gone into a remarkable amount of detail in terms of the establishment and the strengthening and deepening of relations between the U.S. and the Philippines. I am lucky, however, that these arrangements and these agreements have come about because we have such a very strong foundation of our relationship. And now here we are, the CSIS, one of the world's foremost policy institutions on national security and foreign policy issues. The Secretary stood before you to provide his perspectives, our perspectives, on the Philippines' deep bilateral ties with the United States, as well as our country's place in the Indo-Pacific and in the world. Today, I would like to delve into what I think our two countries and peoples have been and will continue to be naturally drawn to each other. I dare say that in a similar vein, the future of the United States will hold more promise if the U.S. works closely, hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, in lockstep with the Philippines. The answer is simple and more fundamental even than our almost 72 years of treaty alliance. What truly binds our two countries and peoples is our shared value and our commitment to mutual prosperity. In May last year, a record 56 million Filipinos exercised their right to vote. True to our roots as the first Asian republic, we showed the world once again that the Philippines remains a bastion of freedom in the Asia-Pacific. When I came into office, still reel from the lingering effects of the pandemic and the ripple effects of even the crisis in Ukraine and to the Philippines and to the global economy. My father once said, "Of what good is democracy if it is not for the poor?" He was absolutely right. I'm quite certain that you will all agree that this is the very same principle, a common goal of peace and prosperity for our peoples. We need to work with like-minded partners. It is therefore not surprising that over the past 20 months, in particular, our two countries have seen a steady exchange of official engagements at all levels of government. This includes my first meeting with President Biden on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York, and this visit, the first by a sitting Philippine president to the United States in over 10 years. I do not know quite how that developed that way, as that has not been the case in the past, but we are back on our normal road of partnership, working together, hand in relationship, and where we want our alliance and our partnership to bring us, particularly in terms of addressing the most pressing challenges confronting our two countries today. We noted that the food, water, and energy crises, climate change, terrorism, transnational organized crime, they have all become enormous and complex challenges, not only for the smaller countries such as the Philippines, but even for the large countries and great powers like the United States. We are grappling with both new and traditional threats to our people's security. Nowhere more acutely felt than in the Indo-Pacific region. And the Philippines sits in emerging challenges. It is because national security is no longer simply about territorial defense. Economic security is national security. After some fits and starts in the nearly 125 years since its independence, the Philippines is poised to achieve upper middle income status in 1 or 2 years' time. We are projected to become the 16th largest economy in the world by 2040. For our more than 100 million Filipinos, ensuring their economic well-being and uplifting their quality of life has always been the priority of this administration. We continue to work on finding synergies and aligning our efforts to sustain our economic momentum and secure inclusive development by expanding cooperation in key areas such as agriculture, energy, infrastructure, to welcome and embrace the US-led Indo-Pacific Economic Framework because of fairness, competitiveness, of inclusiveness, sustainability, and resilience. One could argue that the Philippines and the United States are natural strategic trade and investment partners. The challenge now is to make sure that the IPEF brings about concrete, which goes beyond digital connectivity, which has become the most common use of that word, but to include transportation, include trade, include travel by land, by sea, by air. And in that way, we strengthen supply chains, we build resilience, and we open up access and opportunities not only to the digital economy, but to the other emerging sectors that as yet we have not necessarily totally identified, but will come down and will be something that we will have to face in the very near future. We see a couple of issues that are of vital importance to our economic partnerships. First, the program covers over 2,000 products and certainly can be expanded to cover other products of interest. I do not say this lightly, but the Philippines has much to offer when it comes to economic opportunities that both countries can take advantage of. We grew at 7.6% and last year, which made the Philippines one of the fastest growing economies in the Indo-Pacific in 2022. While facing global economic headwinds, we are still projected to grow by around 6% this year, and that is the forecast that we are hoping actually to improve on, and another 6.2% next year. We have a young, dynamic, and skilled labor. Our macroeconomic fundamentals remain strong. As the United States actively looks for alternative localization, agriculture, food security, critical green minerals, digital infrastructure and telecommunications, and, as has been spoken about, and in healthcare. We believe that not only do these areas have a high potential for growth, but will also provide the most benefits to our peoples. To advance our common climate agenda, energy and green metals cooperation will be an important piece of our engagement and must be prioritized. The Philippines is interested in becoming a strategic partner of the U.S. in terms of metal processing for American battery application and development. The increased deployment of clean technologies comes with an increase. We are eager to work with the U.S. government to carve out a clear pathway for maximizing incentives under the Inflation Reduction Act to help our resources of raw and processed materials for battery production to complement your national blueprint for lithium batteries. We have recently advanced electrical costs down. This will allow us to progress discussions with the U.S. companies offering nuclear technologies for government and for commercial use, while we continue cooperation on other capacity building initiatives under strategic civilian nuclear cooperation MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding. The adoption of geographic information systems, remote sensing, artificial intelligence in the baselining and change detection of terrestrial, coastal, and marine ecosystems. This will aid us as we establish our own geospatial database and equip us to move towards strengthening science-based policy making in our country. We certainly would welcome discussions on joint action research with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, and the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. The NOAA has been providing. Furthermore, with NASA, we hope to formalize our participation in their Asia Air Quality Program. Recognizing that the weather sector has the opportunity to lead the change and to deliver transformative solutions in our quest for climate resilient and sustainable development, we likewise encourage the exchange of knowledge on integrated water resource management and opportunities for joint transdisciplinary action research, with particular focus on the nexus between climate change, biodiversity conservation, and food, energy, and water security. Building on the training of technicians and specialists, including postgraduate education scholarships, providing necessary equipment and implements for the center, and establishing what is envisioned to be the first biosafety level 4 laboratory in the country. We look forward to welcoming pharmaceutical companies open to taking advantage of incentives in using the Philippines as a base for their vaccine manufacturing and distribution operations. We also look forward to our continued partnership in fighting non-communicable diseases such as tuberculosis, diabetes, obesity. We will require massive investments in the human, physical, and technological resources of the Philippine Genome Center, including access to artificial intelligence tools, training of technicians and of scientists, equipment, and relevant research. There are existing cooperative projects that can be built upon or expanded. We also hope to partner with the U.S. Geological Service in training, research, and projects to support our efforts in making a holistic intervention for protecting our coastal areas by targeting environmental degradation in the uplands that impact upon our coastal ecosystems, such as through sedimentation, by restoring the shoreline and protecting marine ecosystems. The United States consistently ranks amongst our top 3 trading partners and top 10 sources of foreign direct investment. We are proud that many U.S. companies, including those in the Fortune 500, have found a home in the Philippines, and hope that more companies would look to us as they devise, because creating prosperity And realizing human potential will not only make the Philippines a more reliable alliance partner for the United States, it will also strengthen our democracies. A bilateral partnership that works for our peoples will in turn attract the support that it needs to thrive, creating a mutually reinforcing circle of trust, one that will truly bring our alliance, our partnership, and our friendship into the 21st century. Thank you all very much for your attention, and good afternoon.
Well, let me be the first to thank you, President Marcos, for some phenomenal remarks and congratulate you on a phenomenal week of visits. I want to reiterate what Dr. Hamry said earlier about just how impressive the last few days of engagements has been. I'm Gregory Poland. I direct the Southeast Asia program here at CSIS. I also run what we call the Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative focused on the South China Sea. So my interest in the Philippines has been long-standing on both fronts. And this is a real honor for us, especially after having so recently hosted Secretary of Foreign Affairs Manalo. Let me start with the alliance. So just yesterday, you visited the Pentagon. You were the first foreign leader to get full honors under the Biden administration at the Pentagon, and which I'm sure was no mistake. And then we saw the release of for 10 years. What does this more equal, more modern alliance look like to you?
Well, it is one that is on a multidimensional basis. The relationship between the Philippines and the United States, although security and defense right now are top of mind, and security and defense are what we feel are the urgent issues that we must attend to. When asked about what is the most important part, I cannot answer such a question because there are so many facets to our relationship. And what I see in the future is just developing all of those. Seeing as I mentioned, that we talk about security and defense. Security and defense can no longer be isolated as one issue. There are attendant and ancillary issues that help solve the problem, and that are part of the solution. And so, again, we must really be looking towards for example, on the economic side, we must be looking to adjust our relationship as we all are trying to adjust and to transform our economies. We must look to the new economy that is emerging from the post-pandemic world. And with the impacting forces of the war in the Ukraine. And those are some things, these are elements, these are issues that we never really had to deal before. So now that is why the relationship must recognize that such is the situation, and that is what we had hoped to achieve. And I think we have taken with an agility that can accommodate the very fast-moving geopolitical forces, the very fast-moving geopolitical issues that arise now, whereas it used to come every year or so. Now they are every week or so, and sometimes even quicker than that. So that is the direction that I see the RP-US relationships heading. And this is what we are going to try to develop. And I think that we are in very good agreement with your president and your government as to the directions that we need to take. And this visit has been most constructive in bringing us to that point where we can say we are ready, that we are capable of looking to the world and seeing what the world has become or what the world has evolved, and evolving as well together so as to be able to play the part that we choose to play in the community of nations.
Most of the announcements that came out of your trip here this week, including the joint statement with President Biden, focused not on security, but as you indicated, on food security and climate change and energy and trade. Are you happy with what the U.S. has put on the table to date on the economic front to make this really a comprehensive, not just a security-focused relationship?
Well, I think that, yes, I am. Now, it's simply because I think it is well recognized by both our governments, not only in, yes, we are attending to what can be considered to be the most critical areas. They may have, because of the situation in the geopolitical world right now, the wide-ranging discussions that we have had. And the wide-ranging discussions that we have had have come up with some concrete proposals that now our governments will go away and study and try to find the cabinet and some of the rest of the official delegation. We also had brought with us many members of the private sector. That this visit has become a very has certainly set the direction very clearly. And it is important in this volatile situation, this volatile setting, that clarity must be there, so as we are very clear in what we intend to do, what roles we play, and what positions we take on certain issues. And that, I think, we have largely achieved on this trip.
Thank you. You mentioned labor rights and human rights, and a week and a half ago, in response to the tragic murder of Alex De La Rosa, your Department of Justice issued a very strong statement condemning the culture of impunity in the Philippines, arguing that it will not be allowed to stand. Could you elaborate a bit on what your administration...
Critical of the human rights situation of the Philippines derived from the policy that we undertook to fight the drug war. And perhaps and in my view, what had happened in the previous administration is that we focused very much on enforcement. And because of that, it could be said that there were abuses by certain elements in the government, and that has caused some concern with many, in many quarters, about the human rights situation in the Philippines. Well, I cannot speak to what my predecessor had in mind and what his idea was, but what I can speak to is the policy that syndicates have grown stronger and wealthier and more influential, worryingly so. But instead of going after everyone, we have tried to identify the key areas where we have that we have to tackle, the key areas that we have to attend to, so that we can see a diminution of the activity of the drug syndicates. To this end, we have just finished, we instituted a process by which we asked, problem lies in enforcement. And some of our law enforcement officers have been sucked in to these terrible systems that have enriched themselves at the cost of the lives of all the police officers from colonel level up. And we have received about, 917 resignations. And we are now in the process of looking through the records of these officers to see those that have had derogatory comments, those that have evidence against them. As of today, 2 of those very high-ranking, I think general rank, have already been removed have been separated from the service. And there are still over 30 cases that are being administratively investigated. And that will continue. And if anything is found that implicates any of them to be involved in any of these activities, then we will start to develop the cases against them, and in that way dismantle this terrible system that has grown up and has become such. Change in policy, I believe, is much more focused. I always say that the previous administration focused on enforcement. We have taken enforcement as far as we can. Now it is time to look at actually going after dismantling these syndicates. And before that, we should also look at
As the heritage province of the North reopens to tourists, it launches the all-new Tour Ilocos Sur app. A quick guide to Ilocos Sur at your fingertips. Find the best tourist spots,